Hi, morning. Sukriti, I was trying to call you, tell you I'm out of home. I'll be joining a little late, so we can. Sorry for this 1 or 2 minutes delay. Morning, Anilji, how are you? We can go live, Prerna. Go live.
Good morning, everyone. The participants who have joined us today morning, we're going live now. Thank you. Please, Sukirti, you may carry on.
A very good morning to everyone. Thank you for taking the time to attend this event. I am Sukirti Gupta, the founder of Sipping Thoughts, and welcome to the flagship event, Strengthening Relationships in Family Business. This event has been jointly curated and designed by BW Business School, Sipping Thoughts, and BAF Consultants. Sipping Thoughts is a digital media brand which focuses on women. And since its inception, we have been working to create awareness about issues related to women and reach about 4 million women on a monthly basis. BW Business World, although it requires no introduction, I know all of you know it very well. It was launched 4 decades ago. It's a fortnightly magazine and has become the renowned and largest and most respected business magazine. It's led by Dr. Anurag Batra, who is the chairman and editor-in-chief. It is the fastest growing business media house in India. BAF Consultants is a cohesive team of professionals who deeply and passionately believe in the institution of family. They work in the area of human behavior in 2 dimensions. The first, strengthening awareness in individuals for understanding their own feelings and needs, as well as those of others. The second, strengthening the alignment between individuals by building their skills to find common ways to address their needs. And I know you all are waiting to get started, so I'd like to invite Dr. Anurag Batra, Chairman and Editor-in-Chief of BW Business World and Exchange for Media, and Mr. Anil Sanani, Founder and Managing Partner of BAF Consultants, to start off the conversation on family businesses and what are some of the commonly prevalent challenges facing them. Go ahead, Dr.
Thank you,
Anil.
thank you, Security, for roping us in at BW Business World. This involved entrepreneurs, and Anil is now a columnist with Business World on family business. Anil, with his years of experience in this domain and a specialized practice that helps entrepreneurs, business people plan succession, make sure family businesses continue to grow. So he writes a fortnightly column for BW Business World. And when this idea of doing this came, I think it was a logical extension. I just want to give a background, and really Anil will take over. Today we have Mr. Samir Gupta, who's the chairman and managing director of the Jackson Group, who's joined us, and I've had the good pleasure of meeting him once. We also have Mr. Sandeep Gupta, who's the vice chairman and managing director of the Jackson Group, who's also joining. So clearly, we're not just talking theoretically. Anil, with his years of experience in working with these family businesses, understands the issues, the dilemmas, the opportunities, the culture. It is very important to understand the culture. So we'll do this every fortnight, and we'll bring to you the nuances of family business. I don't want to stand between you and Anil to be able to take us through a background of what are the issues that occur when family businesses grow, when they transition. And clearly, family businesses are the businesses that are the forefront of growth. They are the emerging businesses, and really, in some way, they're creating so much value for each stakeholder. So clearly, Anil will take us through a presentation which will detail the specifics of what challenges and opportunities and what are some of the pointers that family business owners, entrepreneurs need to keep in mind. I would say Anil has a playbook for family businesses. So clearly, me and you are co-pilots with Anil in this journey. We'll let Anil drive it, and we'll come in when needed. Anil, all yours. You'll have to unmute yourself. Unmute is the second most used word of 2021. It was the most used word of 2020. It continues to be a very used word.
Yeah.
I'll put myself on mute. And
thank you so much, Dr. Saab, and thanks to Samir ji and Sandeep ji and Sukriti for creating this opportunity. So Dr. Saab talked about the importance of family businesses and the needs. So just by way of in terms of introduction, I would say needs, when we talk of any needs of any family business, they are essentially in 4 categories. First is the family side, where, the relationships are extremely important. Bringing up the children, so ongoing avoidance of conflict and preserving of relationships and strengthening of relationships. And if it's a business, family and business, then in the business also, some people might be working, some people might not be working in business. So like earlier, these days, spouses and girls also do join the business, but still, I think in India, in many cases, the spouses and the girls don't join the business. So they could be owners, or even there could be children who are not part of the business. So one clearly side is the family side, where the need is of strengthening relationships. The second is the business side, where again relationships are extremely important between different stakeholders, especially if the business is growing. So there is the promoter group, the owners, and there are non-family members or professionals. So how do you professionalize your business such that the energies of all the professionals, family professionals and non-family professionals are leveraged? And similarly at the board level, the experienced people who come on the board, how could we leverage them? And then if I talk of the relationships, like the theme of today's session, it is about relationships. And one of the things, incidentally, what comes to my mind is what Sameerji had said, I think at least 4 or 5 years ago, was that Anil, if India has to become a developed country, Indians would need to learn to work together. And which would mean that, family businesses, which now and then get, divided or separated, they need to be together for scale. So Sameerji, your conversation has stuck with me, and I see tremendous, it's an obvious truth. It need not be explained. So on the business side also, when families break up, it has a huge impact on the family relationship, then on the business, and then on the society and, other stakeholders in the business also. So today's session, we chose the theme of relationships. So let me get into sharing, I have organized my thoughts into a presentation around relationships. So let me share with you. The session would be like, I'll be just creating a framework and sharing with you all a master tool of how to go about, repairing and strengthening relationships. Then I would request Sameerji and Sandeepji. So this will take about 20 minutes. Then Sameerji and Sandeepji, I would request them to share their journey. They are a family with 3 generations. Their father started the business, and Sameer and Sandeepji grew it, and now they have 3 sons in the 3rd generation who have joined business, and they have professionalized their business also. So there would be a sharing about their journey, and then Sukriti would be, asking us some of the questions on, what she thinks are important. And meanwhile, the audience can keep, sending their questions, and Sukriti and Janani, they would kind of, ask these questions specifically to 3 of us. So let's move forward. Little bit about Blast. We, as a firm, help families. If I talk in technical terms, it is about creating a constitution for the family and business. And if in simple terms, it is about, helping the family strengthen relationships. That is the crux of our work. In this presentation, I'll be talking less on why relationships are important, What are the barriers to relationships? Because I think these are obvious things. Most of the time हमारे साथ challenge ये नहीं होता है कि what needs to be done, but we want to know how to do it because we might have tried and faltered. So a lot of time would go on how do we repair, rebuild and strengthen relationships. And we have created a master tool called Ego to Wisdom. And we call it a master tool because in our practice, it always works. So I would try to, share with you in 15 minutes, what is this master tool? That is the essence of this presentation. So relationships are important and there are multiple. I would just focus a minute on two relationships, the relationship with parents and the relationship with self. So within the family also, I would say we come into the world through parents and we have to live with ourselves. And at times, these relationships, the relationship with parents and relationships with self also gets strained. And if we are not able to work on this relationship, कोई relationship काम नहीं करेगी. And all relationships are work in progress. Perfect relationships मेरे ख्याल से वो रामायण में हो गई भगवान और उनके फादर की, बाकी तो रिलेशनशिप में सबके चैलेंज आते हैं. सो रिलेशनशिप्स के जो स्ट्रेस्ड रिलेशनशिप्स के कॉस्ट हैं तीनों लेवल पे होते हैं, इंडिविजुअल, फैमिली और बिजनेस. At the individual level, I have seen people, unable to sleep, they're being stressed, loneliness. गुलजार साहब का ये शेर जो है कि बहुत अंदर तक जला देती है वो शिकायतें जो बयां नहीं होती. So at times in our key relationships, when we withhold, it hurts tremendously at the individual level. At the family level, it creates distances, blame game शुरू हो जाता है, communication gets reduced, it impacts the upbringing of children, and it impacts our reputation also. Because if our family relationships are stressed, people around us know. And I think still family as an institution is valued. And at the business level, it leads to loss of productivity, quality of work gets compromised, customers की complaints होंगी और results पर impact होगा. Whether I'm talking of I as an employee or an individual or my organization. So it will impact the business, it will impact my career. Now, we work on our relationships, but कुछ relationships में जहाँ stress बढ़ने लगती है, at times we tend to give up. So when I'm saying why we refuse to work, I'm saying some relationships, at times we tend to give up. And what is the reason of giving up is, I have seen two simple reasons. First is this fear. That the relationship is already strained. If I say something, I have tried hard, अब मैं और कहूंगा तो it will further damage the relationship. So we care for the relationship, इसलिए repair नहीं कर रहे हैं, इसलिए बोल नहीं रहे हैं, because we have reached the end of our ability to deal with it. And when we realize that, at times we seek external help with a friend, with a relative. But वहां पर भी क्या होता है कि instead of understanding, fear ये होता है, and more often than not it happens, that instead of understanding and support, we are misunderstood and given superficial advice. If I have an argument with my wife and if I share it with anyone, मेरे को ये fear होगा कि somebody will give me तुरंत ज्ञान, यार ये तो होता रहता है, और नहीं, give it up यार, कोई बात नहीं. So understanding, yeah, ये fear कि यार, he might tell somebody that I'm having a challenge with my wife. So हम खुद भी नहीं एड्रेस कर पाते हैं, and we are hesitant in seeking support. Now the fact of life is all relationships will get tested. So this brings me to the question of how do we repair, rebuild and strengthen relationships? And the essence of that is our skill of communication. And when I say communication, there are three parts to it. So all of this is covered in our tool called Ego to Wisdom. Moving from ego to wisdom, And in this tool, there are three essential parts. One is the being, knowledge, and skill building through practice. So I'll explain each of these elements in some detail. Let us start with the first part, which is being. We are all human beings. So what does beings mean? Beings, I say, is our current state, who I am in this moment. And we can see it from two aspects. One is my heart at peace? Am I calm? Or am I stressed, disturbed, frustrated, angry? So my heart at war. So calm है कि disturbed है? Fear में है या calm है? And second is ego predominant in me right now or wisdom is predominant? So I'll explain this little bit more in terms of being essence of human beings. Heart at war and heart at peace, I think is fairly obvious. When we come to ego and wisdom, there are few attributes of ego and wisdom, and the sum total of ego and wisdom is always 100. So wisdom is like light and ego is like darkness. So when there is light, there will not be darkness. And if the light goes away, the darkness would come in. So ego is like darkness and wisdom is like light. And the sum total of the two is our being. So at any given point of time, either ego is predominant or wisdom, and it keeps changing. So when ego is predominant, we tend to judge and evaluate. Who is right? Most of the time it is I am right and the other person is wrong. 95% of the time this is what we do. But at times, ulta bhi ho jata hai. We beat ourselves. When we get into negative thinking, guilt, or depression, ki main hi galat hu. So ego is concerned about being right or wrong. It is greedy. We are never satisfied. We want more. In the ego state, we are fearful or angry, arrogant or scared. Then we have expectations from others. And we hold on to the baggage of the past. उसने मेरे साथ ऐसा किया था. एक हफ्ता पहले किसी ने मेरे को गाली दी थी, 10 साल पहले किसी ने मेरे को गंदी मेल लिखी थी, उसका अभी भी मैं बैगेज कैरी करूं. When we are in the wisdom state, we are not worried about what is right. We are focused on the solution, what is right, not who is right. So if I and my wife are having an argument, she says कि शिमला चलना है और मैं कह रहा हूं कि नहीं देहरादून चलना है. So instead of who is right, which place will, kind of why I am saying that, why she is saying, what is the underlying objective. So I gave you a very trivial example and I'll give you more examples specifically in the application of tools. In the wisdom state, we are content with what we have. We count our blessings. We have faith in ourselves, faith in the other person. We have commitment into making the relationship work, the task getting achieved. And we are ready to forget the past. We learn from past, but we forgive. So these are the two states. Now, knowing the attributes is easy. But how do you know कि आप ego state में है कि wisdom state में है? And the beauty is कि when we are in ego state, we will argue to no end that I am on the pie, मैं सही कर रहा हूँ. I am right. I am in the wisdom state. This is the irony. The egoist will never admit कि मैं ego में हूँ. वो तो बोलेगा मैं सही कर रहा हूँ. This is dharma. If I am killing somebody, तो भगवान कृष्ण ने भी तो बोला था कि kill your elders because you have to do it for the righteousness. And when we are in the wisdom state, we are never sure. My daughter is asking me कि पापा मैं रात को, she's 13-year-old, I am telling you an old incident. I want to go to party, many my friends are coming and I'll come home by 11. Other parents have given the permission. And my wife is scared. कि नहीं आप नहीं जा सकते हो. She is crying. Both of them are right in their own ways. How do I find the balance and what is the right balance? कोई आकाशवाणी नहीं होने वाली है. So if you are in the wisdom state, you will never be sure what is right, that you are in the wisdom state. In another simple test is in ego state, हमारा मन अशांत होगा, and in wisdom state, we will be in peace. Simple test. So that was about the being for communicating, because when we communicate, the most important element is the being. Who am I being? If I am calm or if I am agitated. Next is the knowledge. So what does by knowledge we mean? And all of this will come in the master tool. Knowledge of doing compassionate communication. And communication essentially starts with awareness. So आपको अपनी being की भी awareness होनी चाहिए ना. You need to be aware to know whether you are in ego state or in wisdom state. And the second step is you need to align. Now, how do you remain? How do you align? And what you need to be aware of beyond your being. So awareness में सबसे पहले हमारे thoughts. Now, in our thoughts, there are feelings and there are needs. And there are facts and there are judgments. And all that is jumbled up into thoughts. So if we become aware of our thoughts, feelings, needs, and facts for ourselves and for the other person, and in communication that flows, both persons get to understand each other's feelings and needs. That is when the emotional connect will happen. True communion of two people coming together. And then you can find ways and means of fulfilling needs, respecting feelings of each other, and specific ways in which needs of both persons can be met. So this is what is the knowledge, which needs to be kind of applied. So let me give you an example. How do we segregate thoughts into feelings, needs, and facts? So a situation in my home, at home, morning time, my wife gets into the room and sees that my daughter's room books are on the bed and shoes in the pathway. Now, her thought which gets expressed is, your room is always dirty. Her feeling is, we can say, of irritation and anger. And her need is cleanliness and order. And she wants her daughter to learn to be responsible for our room. Learn responsibility. Now, what does Anisha, my daughter, hear? Her thought would be that mom keeps getting angry. Feeling that mommy mujhe blame kar rahi hai. Mom is blaming me. And what is her need? Freedom and understanding. Understand, mom, for me, I'm fine in this not so clean room. My standards are different. Or help me in dealing with this. So if both of them understand, each other's feelings and needs, it is possible to create alignment. So what I say is that any need fulfill करने के multiple तरीके हो सकते हैं. So once we get aligned on needs, I think we get stuck because we say my path is the right path. So if I want to, I want to exercise, I can do yoga, I can do running, Zumba. There are multiple ways. So fulfilling the needs also can be done in multiple ways. And it is possible to find a path which meets needs of both people. So in this case, my daughter and my wife, and this is few years ago, they kind of aligned कि ठीक है, मैं उठ करके अपना, I will, do my bed, and once I'll clean my room in a day. So this creates alignment where both of them, because they care for each other, they understand each other's relationship and care for it and find a common cause. Now, this was a routine, everyday example. Let me give you a little difficult example. This is about a business situation, very tough, father and son, 55 years and 35 years. And in the last 5 years, there has been a lot of stress in the business. And the facts are while the sales have grown from 2,000 to 4,000 crores, their PBT, which was 125 crores, has gone to minus 250 crores. So this growth has created challenges in performance. The market cap of the company, which was 4,000 crores in 2013, has come down to 1,500 crores, and there is severe liquidity crisis in the business. So this is the fact where there can be no disagreement. What is the impact of this and the pressing issues? Who is responsible? The business is at, the survival is at stake, and there is an element of blame game which is going on. The need is of, how do we safeguard the family? Because if the business goes down the drain, the family gets impacted. And third is there is an immediate need of raising debt because liquidity, there are repayments to be made. And there is a struggle in terms of organizing that debt. I'm picking up three important issues. What is the blame going on? Son says that, father's strategy was failed and he's continuing with that strategy. He's not accepting his mistake. He takes decisions unilaterally and he has surrounded himself with yes men. Father ki kya discomfort hai? My son is talking about his rights, but he's not thinking about his responsibility. When I was in a similar situation, I worked with my dad. I did not think of, what are my rights? I best supported my father. I have given you the best of education. You went abroad, you studied, you do what you want to. At least I'm fighting out. You are not supporting me. Don't de-stress me and reduce my energy. So this is the kind of conflict in which they were, and the relationship, of course, was very stressed. Now, using the master tool, when the son had these conversations with himself, and I'm again giving you some glimpses of those conversations. His first thing was, father doesn't recognize my work. This was his first thought. Then his thought was, my father wrongs me. Then my parents, they don't understand me. And our strategy is doomed. So these were his thoughts. And using the master tool, when he segregated, and I'm not talking that he had his conversation with his father, he himself, used this tool, and this tool is on a sheet of paper, which we called Ego to Wisdom. And, he kind of strengthened his awareness. So I've picked up two thoughts and I'm just sharing with you, how did he kind of distill them into facts, feelings and needs. And then he visualized what would be the feelings and needs of my father. So first he said that, my father doesn't understand me. And also, he doesn't care for my feelings, stuff like that. The fact is that he realized that I love them and they love me. He said, my father doesn't understand my need for security. Then when, thoda sa heart at peace hua, so how will anyone not realize this simple need that everybody wants to be secure? So the fact is, father understands. Actually, the feeling is, I have got distant from my father. I have become aloof. And what is my need? I want love from my father. And I'm just using few of those, not to complicate matters. And I'm oversimplifying it just to make the point. Then when he thought from his father's perspective, what must his father be feeling when he gets this vibe from his son that you don't understand me, or you tell your father that, Dad, you don't understand me? He would be feeling helpless. Kaise main bataun? And what does the father want? He wants closeness. He also loves you. Coming to more tangible, like, our business strategy is doomed. Yes, strategy की choice गलत हो गई थी या execution गलत हो गया था, it is in front of us. The fact of the matter is, it is a difficult situation, no easy way out, it will take time. Now, what is your feeling? I'm afraid, I'm fearful. What is my need? Security. What would your father be feeling when you are saying that our strategy is doomed? He would be feeling hurt. He also wants security. So once he understood his father, and similarly the father understood the son, it was easy for them, to kind of communicate. And over the next 3 years, they have been able to strengthen their relationship. The son has taken some role in business, and he's pursuing his dream outside. The business performance 3 years later, the sales have gone up to 6,000 crores. PBT is plus 225 crores. Market cap is back to 5,000 crores. And they have created a platform of communication that on an ongoing basis, we need to talk about business, and understand each other. So this is about applying that knowledge, the knowledge of awareness, alignment, thoughts, facts, feelings, needs, and then understanding each other. Now, implementation happens through skill. So this is the third piece of the tool, skill building. So I think as the father-son have also created this platform, relationships is an ongoing journey. And I would say as one keeps practicing, it keeps getting strengthened. So I think I'm through with the presentation. Sukirti has already introduced Sameerji and Sandeepji. Little bit from my side also. I said this earlier also. I had the privilege of working with both of them. I interacted with their father, other family members, and their children also. So this is a family which has, managed the relationships extremely well. Life में सबको test करना होता है, business सबको test करता है, and I think they have gone through all of this and they have faced this, to best of my knowledge, extremely well. So over to you, Sameerji and Sandeepji, to share your experience.
Thank you, Anilji. And of course, good morning to everyone. Dr. Batra, Anilji, Sandeep, other participants, panelists. Pleasure and honor to be here to share our experiences. Just I'll briefly introduce ourselves, and then I'll request Sandeep to share about the business before I start talking about the family constitution, with emphasis on relationship and communication, what Anilji just spoke about. This business, we are almost a 75-year-old name, and this business was started by our father when he migrated from Lahore to India. And lots of values have been inculcated in us by default. That's what we have learned from our parents. And I remember, when we joined business between 1993, 94, whatever, the whole focus was on customers, or, I remember his quote, don't be slave to money, never compare yourself with others. So those are the things which are kind of embedded in our minds anyways, since donkey years now. Sandeep and me are second generation into business. And by the way, after Sandeep and me joined, our father withdrew from business within 10 years. By year 2000, he gave reins to us. He was barely 60 then. And this is something very important in the context of the example, what Anilji was talking about the family. And I do realize I have interacted with many family businesses in my CI roles and many conferences also. I realized that, generally, father is also not willing to give away powers, which at times becomes a stumbling block, which was not the case in our family. He gave up powers in 2000. He started involving himself in a engineering college, and thereafter it was Sandeep's and my dream, which we could thankfully, successfully unfurl. I think what happens is generally founders are so much in love with their business, they don't have anything else to do, and they just don't want to give up that control. In our case, third generation is going to be in the business over next 3 to 5 years. They're already a part of the business in many ways. The eldest one in the family is already, I think, 4 years into business. And we are between 53 and 54 years of age. Again, Sandeep and me, I being 54, he being 53. And we do intend to, by the way, withdraw ourselves from business by the time we are 60 and give at least from the executive roles and give all the powers to our children. And I remember one of the statements what our father made way back when he was handing over reins to us. He said that, I've seen you play over the last 10 years, which was from 1990 to 2000. You are playing it well. I have played my innings, and it's now up to you. I categorically remember this, comment of his. So that's a very brief. And before I start talking in detail about the constitution and relationship and communication, I would request Sandeep, my brother, to talk about, give background of the business, how we have kind of matured in last 20-25 years as a business, and then I will kind of take over to talk about the constitution. Sandeep, with this, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Samir, and good afternoon, everyone. So what I have done is I have kind of divided our journey over last 3 decades in 3 phases, and these 3 phases kind of represent 3 distinct growth phases of our business. So the phase 1 is from 1990 to 2000. 1990 is when Samir graduated and joined business, and I joined a year after. Next phase is from year 2000 to 2010, and third phase is 2010 onwards. So if we talk about the first phase, Samir joined family business in 1990 after graduation from Pune University, and I joined in 1990. We both did our engineering from the same project. Samir did electronics engineering, and I did computer engineering. So we are both graduate engineers by profession. And when we joined the business, there is a background noise. So when we joined our family business, we were already a fairly well-established genset company, which was headed by our father at that time. And so the initial years of our career were very exciting because we were a small company at that time. So that it gave us an opportunity to be very hands-on on practically everything from day one. So I clearly remember we used to do everything with our own hand, right from making an offer to the customer, calling up customer, visiting them for negotiation. So we were very, very hands-on right from day one. And we really used to enjoy working. It really used to excite us a lot. We used to love visiting our plants, spending time on the shop floor. And from a very, I think, initial time, I would say both me and Samir realized the importance of technology and innovation. And we both were very focused on technology and innovation from day one. And we really used to travel a lot in those days. I really remember almost we used to travel almost. We used to visit a lot of exhibitions and genset plants overseas, especially overseas, with the intent to pick up ideas which we can implement in our setup. And we kind of, as Samir said, our father did give us a lot of freedom, and we kind of implemented quite a few things at that time, and we brought quite a few changes in our organization at that time. If I remember correctly, we even ourselves we wrote a sales software for managing our sales and customer order, which we used for good 10 to 12 years till we moved on to a complete ERP. We were more into retail sales at that time, so we also established our project division at that time. And we also got into switchboard manufacturing at that time, more as a backward integration. So, as I said, there was a lot of focus on innovation and trying new things during that time from both our sides. The phase 2 of our journey, I would say, started in year 2000, as Samir shared, when our father decided to kind of take a back step and handed over the reins of business to Samir and me. We were around 100 crore company at that time. And the economy was really booming at that time. And the next 8 years were kind of golden years for us. We could grow the revenues of our company from 100 crore to 1000 crore by 2008. And that was the time, those were the years where we were totally focused on growing and expanding our genset business. And that was also the time when we started the journey of professionalizing our business, because as you grow, there is a kind of a limit where you can do everything else. And if you go beyond that limit, of course, you need to professionalize the business and start hiring senior people to kind of take care of various functions. So me and Samir, we also realized during their journey that we kind of need to focus on our individual strength areas. So we kind of segregated our work responsibilities, with Samir deciding to focus on sales and relationship management. And I was more focused on the manufacturing and supply chain side and the banking part of the business. So that's how we segregated responsibilities between ourselves. Then in 2008, the Lehman Brothers crisis happened. So everybody knows about it. And within 1 year, our revenues dropped, business revenues dropped by almost 30%. And after seeing a huge growth over last 8 years, that kind of drop of 30% was quite demoralizing. And it also made us realize the risk of being a single business company. And that was the time we thought it's probably time has come to kind of expand our business and kind of look for some new business so that all our eggs are not in one basket. So we hired one of the big fours. If I remember correctly, it was PwC. So we hired PwC and gave them a mandate to identify a new diversification business for Jackson. And they did a very detailed exercise, and after a lot of deliberations, and I think 2009, it took them good 6 months to complete the exercise. They identified solars as one of the top options for Jackson to diversify into. So then in 2010, which probably represents the phase 3 of our growth, business growth. 2010, the Indian government, which was headed by Dr. Mohan Singh at that time, announced the National Solar Mission. And that gave us an opportunity to get into solar because PW had already identified solar as a diversification field for Jackson. So we thought that was the right time for us to get into solar. And we took a very bold decision of bidding for a 20 megawatt solar IPP in Rajasthan, which was a big risk for us at that time because the investment required for that project was pretty big. And another big risk we took at that time was that we also decided to do the complete EPC for the solar power plant ourselves. Because there were very few companies at that time who had the experience of doing complete EPC for a 20 megawatt power plant, because 20 megawatt was a big capacity at that time. And we were also, and since we were doing a lot of genset projects, we had a very competent genset projecting. And so hence we decided to do the EPC for our project ourselves. And I think both the risks paid very well because we were one of the very few companies at that time who could commission their project in time without paying any penalty. And this gave us a huge confidence in our EPC capabilities. So we decided to create a separate independent electrical EPC business as well, where apart from doing solar EPC for the developers, we also got into doing transmission line projects, rural electrification projects, substation projects, building electrification projects. So within a span of 2 years, we could establish 2 new lines of businesses for Jackson. One was solar and other was electrical EPC. And at the same time, I think we also realized the need to strengthen our business processes and structure to meet the demands of a growing business. What happens is that when you are on a fast track growth, you are totally focused on growing the business, and processes and structures kind of take a backseat, and you change them more on ad hoc basis rather than in a structured manner. And same thing happened with us when we were growing at a very fast pace from 2000 to 2008. And we realized that if we have to become a multiple business and a professionally managed organization, we will have to focus more on creating right processes and right structure rather than focusing just on growth. So we also had EY in 2012 to do a complete HR transformation for us and to create a new organization structure which will be in line with our changing business structure. This again proved to be a very huge task because we all know that it's very difficult to drive change management in any organization. And I still remember in 2012, when we started this exercise, we had more than 60 different designations in our org structure. And in one stroke, EY brought those designations from 60 to 12. So you can imagine how tough it was to drive this change management in the organization. But me and Samir were very clear and very firm that if we have to grow further, we will have to drive this change in the organization. And we also implemented SAP as our ERP at the same time. So in last 10 years, we have grown to become a 2,500 crore company or a business with 4 independent lines of business today. Of course, this has not been a smooth journey and it had its shares of ups and downs. And in last 4 years, our next generation has also joined the business. We have now prepared a roadmap for our next phase of growth for Jackson over next 3 years, where we plan to double our revenue. So I think I will now request Samir to share about the family constitution and also about our planned journey for next 3 years. So over to you, Samir.
Thank you, Sandeep, for giving the background of the business and the company. And I will quickly get on to looking at the time, what motivated us, first of all, to get into family constitution. Incidentally, I started playing a pretty active role in CII way back in 2012-13. And that's the time I had an opportunity to travel with Mr. Adi Godrej to Uganda for 3 days. We were just 12 people. And during that time, I had some interaction on how he operates the family constitution. And then thereafter, I had an opportunity to interact with Ajay Shri Ramji and some of his family members in various conferences of CII, which motivated us to, start thinking about the whole construct of the constitution. Sandeep and me, we exchanged notes, we deliberated, we read about it. Clearly, we could figure out advantages of having a constitution which fundamentally gives security to the family. There is agility. You can preserve wealth. That was one of the core purpose of getting into constitution. There is ability to scale up because your risk appetite if the families together goes up. And like what Anilji is saying, we are pretty convinced that in today's world, which is the world of merger, acquisitions, and partnerships, it makes absolutely no sense to split the family business, which might give you short-term, satisfaction, but over long term, it is not good in terms of value creation for various stakeholders, including the shareholders. So with this as a thought, we thought, we want to go ahead and write the constitution. Of course, Anilji has spoken about the challenges which one faces in terms of lack of communication or sibling rivalry or ego clashes or innovation or to resistance to innovation or change. So all these challenges do come in when you are trying to write a constitution, and the only way to get over it, to my mind, is by having effective communication. Not only we read tons of case studies on family businesses, some of them were forwarded to us by Anilji only. We also, both Sandeep and me went for executive course to Harvard. So the point I want to make is learning is a never ending process and nothing to do with age. He spoke about gaining knowledge. So I just finished my 3rd year 3 years back. Sandeep is going to finish his 3rd year in the coming year. While we are talking about, taking a backseat within 5 years. And there also we engaged with many professors who had expertise of handling many family businesses, which gave us a lot more insight. So as a first step, what we did was, Sandeep and me, we agreed on certain fundamentals. And the fundamentals was, first of all, was on agreement of goals. What is as a family that we are wanting to achieve over long term? When I say long term, it goes beyond our lifetimes. Secondly, understanding that, differences and similarities between essentially two of us, because we were the ones who were trying to drive this. We had full support from our parents, and they had anyway taken a backseat. So we thought, let's kind of understand, because no two human beings can be same anyways. So it is better to kind of get into personalities, each other's personalities, and respect what we are. And we also realize that we need to appreciate going forward also, all fingers can never be the same, and it is not fair to equate individuals. That's not the right thing to do, because they can't be the same. Importance of trust. How do we create trust? So we have done endless workshops, internally, just with internal resources, with family resources, where we keep on making efforts of aligning and creating trust. Again, and then importance of communication, what Anilji spoke about. Finally, after doing all this, we signed up with Anilji and engaged with him for good 2 years for documenting the constitution and the thoughts what we have, or what we had continued to have, I would say. And this family constitution is essentially nothing, but it talks about our beliefs, ethos, rights, duties, objectives, operating principles, expectations, etc. That is what we documented. And interestingly, after documenting this, we did in one of the initial workshops, we involved entire family, which included our spouses and the next generation. And we made them conduct a workshop in a closed environment, where we motivated them to deliberate to figure out core purpose of the family. So the phrase which is there in the constitution is something what children discovered. It was not discovered by Sandeep and me, because end of the day, it was about they being together. Again, on the value side, they discovered the top 5 values, what was most important to the subsequent generation. That is what we documented in the, it was something not driven by Sandeep or me. Why principles of equality are important. So again, that is the, we were open, Sandeep and me were open to saying that since all fingers are not equal, we can have some kind of differences, as in when you get inducted in terms of your compensation versus your capability. But they came forward and said, no, we want principle of equality, and we want all of them to be treated the same, which was a very motivating thing from our standpoint. And since it was all coming from the children, their ownership to this as a concept was very, very high. Again, having clarity on what are your responsibilities, and at the same time, what are your duties towards the family. So one thing is very clear, and we often say in we do a family meet once in a quarter, and one of the opening statements in every single meeting is that what is good for business is good for the family. It cannot be other way around. And likewise, what is good for family is good for me. So this is something which is culturally now almost inculcated in their heads. And again, one thing is very clear in their minds, that business needs to work for family. Family necessarily need not work for the business. You can always outsource it, but business needs to work for the family. So now that culture, or I think the foundation is set, we are able to see good progress. We have given them all kind of flexibility, whether they want to be in executive roles or just sit on the board or do something else. All that flexibility is provided for in the constitution document. And of course, we do realize that if they want to play the executive role, there are huge advantages, by the way, in a family member being the CEO for any of the businesses or for the company, which includes a faster decision making. It includes stronger customer relationship. It also means stability of the CEO, because he is going to be from the family. And of course, commitment to the business, because as a CEO, he won't be looking around for a job change. There are some disadvantages as well, but if you keep on aligning, if you keep on, frankly giving them feedback, frankly sharing your thoughts, then those disadvantages can also be kind of taken care of. And a couple of disadvantages what I can think of is accountability to perform as per the peer group can be a probable disadvantage. Lack of commitment to governance and processes and system. You can tend to say, I'm representing the owner group, or I'm everyone, so I don't want to follow this process. So that can be the second, pitfall. And thirdly, I could say, many a times we failed as promoters, we failed to understand the difference between what is my wealth and what is company's wealth. So there got to be a complete segregation, what belongs to company, what belongs to you. I think if these fundamental 2-3 things are clear, then their way of looking at life becomes a lot more professional. And as we inducted them, so we had a clear-cut plan. I would call it a succession plan. So it was 1 year of outside job, which was not in the company. It's followed by a couple of years of rotational job within the company. And I'm saying rotational because we wanted them to understand execution, manufacturing, other elements, what was of interest to them within the company. And then they got into marketing piece. And now we are slowly starting from the eldest one in the family, trying to give them the PL responsibility. And then it's going to, in the next couple of years, of course, they're going to be on the board. But at the same time, we are trying to tell them it is not entitlement. You got to earn it. You got to, rise from the ranks, and you got to learn the business. Very interestingly, what we are doing is once in a month, Sandeep and me have one-on-one discussions with each of the child. Once in a month, one of the independent directors of the company whom we have huge trust on, he would do mentoring session of 1 hour each with one of the children, so he gets an external perspective also. And once in 2 years, and this is a very interesting piece which is coming up, once in 2 years we do a 360-degree feedback from them, for them, which is from the leadership team of the company and their reports plus their peer group. So typically we pick a team of 14, 15 people who would do their 360 so that they can understand the blind spots. And again, the culture what we have tried to create within them, and by the way, within our teams as well, is that feedback is a gift. So if you're getting that feedback from your peer group, from your leadership team, take it as a gift, work on it. Everybody has got blind spots. We are all humans. We are not expected to be perfect. And then work on your blind spots so that you can work towards achieving again the broader goal what we have for the company or for the business. Over the years, thankfully, I think we have been able to create a culture that we are custodians of wealth. And I would also like to share that for none of the businesses, none of the family members, including Sandeep and me, we don't own a single rupee worth of share. All the shares are held by a business trust. And the culture, again, what we have inculcated is that you are custodians of wealth. And our purpose is here to, create wealth, not only for yourself, shareholders, employees, but for the larger cause as well. So this is the culture we have been able to thankfully inculcate. And the only way to inculcate this kind of culture is to by role modeling yourself. There is, to our experience, there is no other way. And that's what we have been, trying to do. So the whole objective is to create an institution, knowing well, Sandeep and me are not going to be around, say, after 50 years, but we want this company to live for 1,000 years. And that's how we have been working strongly on the processes, systems, governance, and all the things what I just spoke about. So that's briefly on the, constitution and the piece we are doing on the family side. And happy to answer any question if there is any.
Wow, what a fascinating journey. I mean, first of all, a big congratulations. Just hearing the story, you kind of say, okay, and the fact that you've been able to keep the family together. But I think one of the questions that definitely comes up, I mean, you were two brothers. How do you decide the leadership role? Who will take? Is it one? Is it shared? How did you go through that process? We'd like to understand that.
Yeah, see, as far as I think leadership is concerned, I think we all have to be leaders. And when I say we have to all have to be leaders, means the key role is basically to inspire people, motivate people, nurture people. So we all have to play that role. But specifically, if you're talking about between me and Sameer,
yes, we want to understand between the two.
So as I said, during the initial years, we deliberated or what are our own keys, our key strengths, what is Sameer's key strengths, what are my key strengths, and based on that, we segregated our role. So Sameer was looked after the sales. He handled the sales part of the business, the relationship management. I handled the production part, the finance part, supply chain. And then as we grew and we started playing a bigger role, and when we could completely professionalize business, as we now have various CEOs who manage who are completely responsible for P&L of that business. Between me and Sameer, basically we tend to take all decisions jointly. So if there is any decision to be taken, any debate to be, we do a lot of debate on this, and then we tend to take a joint decision. And if at times there is not, of course, there cannot be alignment all the time. So if at times there is not an alignment, then we have decided we will rather maintain status quo if there is not an alignment. But with generally doesn't happen. So generally, after debating and discussing, we are able to come to a common consensus. So most of the business decision now we tend to take jointly. And yes, you may always say because there has to be one captain of the ship. From that perspective, of course, the overall responsibility or the overall that lies with Samir, he being the elder to me. So that kind of responsibility lies with Samir.
Sukirti, I would like to add one comment to what Sandeep said, a quick one. So fundamentally, I would say three-pronged strategy. One was that overt duplication of roles, have that clarity. Secondly, whosoever is responsible should have the authority. It can't be that somebody responsibilities with X and authorities with Y. So that's what we kind of segregated between both of us. And we were both motivated enough to, perform in a manner where we can be compared to the peer group publicly. So I think these three were the three key things to add to Sandeep's points.
And fantastic, because you can see the success that is also brought for the company. So the next one I'll take from Mudit. Mudit is asking that when there is a family business and it splits, and this is for you, Anil, long drawn out, it's bitter, and in the end, there's so many consultants, there's so much wisdom. Why are they not able to make it work? Anil, you're muted.
Yeah, I would say the answer to this question is that, from times immemorial, like if we go back to Ramayana, it was poisoning of mind of Kaikeyi by one person, and which lasted over maybe a couple of days, but it had huge consequences. And I would say Kaikeyi got into her ego, and her wisdom went into the background. And if that wisdom could be brought to the foreground, like once Bharat came back, she went with him to, request God to come back. So it is, a spark neglected burns a house. So this is one straight and simple answer. Second thing, what I said again, I would like to simplify things, and I may be pardoned for oversimplification, but in the available time, I would say let us take the example of Mahabharata. Now, God himself went and told, give 5 villages. But Duryodhan ne bola, main wo sui ki zameen bhi nahi dunga. So, being right, I am that what it is. I think if people are willing to, get connected with their own wisdom, and that's the challenge. Now, this is one part of it. The other part of it, there are so many people who would have different interests. I worked with a family which was fighting in Supreme Court and High Court. For 15 years, they had paid crores of rupees to, lawyers. And their peers had become, who were with them, they had grown 100 times more than them. Yet, there, I think what I found is the lawyers on both sides, the family came close to resolution. But then the lawyers have their vested interest that if this resolution happens, their, crores of fees which they are going will go away. And I could see it, and I told both warring sides that create an incentive for your lawyers, because they will stoke fires inside you. कि ये गड़बड़ हो जाएगा, because ultimately you will have to trust each other. Cases को withdraw करना पड़ेगा एक दूसरे के against, which is a leap of faith. So there can be positive forces around you and there are negative forces. That's a fact of life. So I would say this. I can go on and on with examples, but this is kind of a rather simple or overall answer to the question.
Great, Janani.
Thanks, Sukriti. I've been following this conversation very intently, and the insights coming in from the Jackson Group and Mr. Anilji, it's very interesting to learn. So now I want to ask Sameerji and Sandeepji. So when we talk about, you mentioned how in a few years' time from now, you'd like the next generation to take the baton forward. And I wanted to understand, how would you reconcile perhaps generational gaps? Obviously, when you took it from your father, there were some a different vision that you had, or there was something you wanted to do differently. Now, coming forward in the next generation, there is bound to be some generation gap. So, how do we address this? How do we reconcile these differences in the grand scheme of things? So, that would be my.
Yeah, I think I'll take that question. So you rightly said there is always a generation gap between two generations. So it was there between me, Samir, and our father, and it will be there between our sons and it's the same thing I was discussing with Samir also. That kind of life has taken a complete 360-degree turn for us, and we are at a stage where what issues we were facing maybe 25-30 years back, probably we are at the same stage, but in a different role. See, according to me, key is probably communication and to be objective driven. And the times have changed. The way things were, say, 30 years back when we joined business, where things are today, things have really changed a lot. And what is, I think, more important, what is more important is to there will always be different opinions. So we will have a different way of thinking. Our sons will have different way of thinking. So for what is more important is really kind of accept that yes, there will be opinion. People will have different way of thinking. So and you need to really accept that having different way of thinking doesn't mean that one of them is right and one of the other person is wrong. So we need to first understand that both could be right or both could be wrong. So it's not about one being right and other being wrong. And secondly, what I think we need to do is we need to really have faith in the kind of capabilities of the next generation, and they should feel kind of they should not feel suffocated. So they should. We need to provide them kind of I think full freedom to operate and freedom to implement their ideas, even if we are not at times in kind of agreement. But I think that freedom has to be provided to the next generation. Anything, Samir, you would like to add anything?
Not really. I think pretty well covered, Sandeep.
Thank you, Sandeepji. Now, my next question I really want to ask Anilji. So you had mentioned the ego to wisdom tool, and in terms of some of the questions that we often get asked is, how do you incorporate this in the daily scheme of decision making? It is an interesting retrospective exercise wherein you see what are the needs and what are the thoughts, but how do we not make this take up time and energy in the day-to-day working and inculcate it into our decision making? What would be your thoughts?
Yeah, so I would say, developing this awareness would be a journey. Any skill that anyone wants to develop, it will require some time and effort. So the simple thing which one can do is, if I want to become a great batsman, I can watch videos of others, but unless I go and practice on the ground. So the practice on the ground is preparation, and then in the match is the actual demonstration. So this ability to segregate thoughts into feelings, needs, it will require practice. So one can sit in the evening, morning, anytime during the day and reflect, where is that the conversation did not go well? In which relationship, in which conversation I got upset? My heart went on war, or the other person was not at peace. And then segregate your thoughts, your feelings and needs. And that is why we created this tool. Unless you do it, it's not possible that in my mind, I will quickly, kind of segregate it in the beginning. But now with practice, so, when I speak to anyone, the other person may speak for maybe 10 minutes. but I will listen carefully and get his feelings and needs. So with practice, one can do it. And initially, it will require little bit of preparation, maybe some 10 minutes a day, 15 minutes a day, one should spend. You know, as Sameerji was saying, and I would like to emphasize in his answers also, you know, the generation gap, and Sandeepji, what he was saying, you know, the processes which they have created, that they go for learning. Children have to go through the induction process. So unless you create processes, this generation gap would not be, you know, the mentor sits with them once every month. So what they have been able to achieve is because of many processes and actual work they have done. 360 feedback. So, you know, unless anything you want to develop, it will require work. So in this tool, if you start spending 15 minutes a day, I think it would be a great beginning and it will give you immediate results.
Right. I think that's something we can all try to start inculcating on a daily basis, like you said. Over to you, Sukriti.
Well, there's an interesting question that's come in from GK. He says, and this is for Samir and Sandeep, like in your case, we are two brothers, and I see at times when we're trying to find a solution to an issue, the conversation seems to go from finding the best outcome towards whose solution is a better one, and the friction starts there. How to handle this? Because I think this is something all of us face.
Yeah, so I will try to explain this one. First of all, like Sandeep said, always be objective driven. What solution leads to we achieving the objective, what we have decided is right for the company and for the family. So I think fundamental thing is alignment on the core purpose of existence of the business, why you are wanting to create that business. And when you do this, by the way, again, trust, communication has a huge important role to play. Understanding the other stakeholder, understanding the personality of your brother, you know, blind spots, strengths, weaknesses of each other, that is extremely important. So I would say fundamentally, it's not about who is right or who is wrong. There is no such thing called as a wrong suggestion. Everything is right, or you know, you have to figure out what is best suited for the situation. So first thing is build psychological trust amongst both of you. And when I say build psychological trust, be absolutely vulnerable and, you know, be straightforward. Don't hold back. Ask this question to you: is that existing already between two of you or three of you or not? By the way, even with our spouses, we are generally trying to hold back. So if we are holding back, if we are not building that psychological trust, we cannot build a great relationship. And if we can't build a great relationship, we will not be able to solve issues. Leave aside this issue of who is right or who is wrong. So that's one. Secondly, be very transparent and work towards win-win. You know, if there is any conflict, you can always spark that question. You don't have to respond to it. I mean, you don't have to react to it. Mull over it for a couple of nights. Think about the right solution. Think about possible more possibilities. Be innovative, creative, and then after 2 days, you guys can meet again and think, you know, possible. These are the possible set of solutions. These are the other set of possibilities. Let's figure out what is best for the company. Don't judge the other person, family member, that he's right or I am wrong, or I am right or he's wrong. Listen to him. You know, generally, I remember one of the conversations we were having. The comment was, since I don't understand you, I don't want to listen to you. But imagine if you don't want to listen to the other person, how can you understand him? You just can't do that. So it can't work that way. So that's the second part. And I would say communication would be the key. One is, of course, being aligned to the objective, being aligned on the values, being aligned on the core purpose. And then finally, I would say communication will be the key. And when I say communication, communication to my mind is 90% attitude and 10% skill. If you don't have the right attitude, in the sense, you could be listening to someone, you could be communicating to someone, but your mind could be somewhere else. You should give undivided attention. The other person should feel that you are genuinely interested. Your body language should be appropriate. You should be open-minded towards the speaker. You shouldn't have a fixed thought that or being judgmental to the other person. You can still acquire the skill, or you can still gain knowledge, but unless and until right attitude towards your family member is there, it won't work. And don't get on to, what happens is, if my brother is saying something, I choose not to communicate or give my feedback or share my thoughts, and in my mind I will think he's not right, I'm right, and he doesn't know how to do, I am better, or him. Don't get into those kind of things. Be very objective driven. If we are very objective driven, if his communication is straightforward, if there is psychological trust between both of you, if the attitude is right, I don't think any problem under the sun is not solvable. That's what I would say.
No, but thank you for that. But you brought up a very interesting point, and I'd like to do a follow-up. The spouses. Now, what is the role? Because, for women in the family business, and how have they been involved in the decision-making?
In our experience, they are not involved in the business. They are housewives. So I am not able to share an experience per se. But then, what we have written in the constitution is that what I can share. I have got 2 sons. Sandeep has got 2 sons. Obviously, the third generation could be women folk as well. So we are treating as per the constitution, as per our thought process, as per our ethos. Sandeep and me and my parents, we believe that all children are equal. There's nothing to do you being a daughter or a son. So that's kind of immaterial. If right set of values, right capabilities are there, then it's actually immaterial. So fundamentally, I would say principles of equality, if they apply, again, families, whether it is daughters or daughter-in-laws, they are all going to be together. By the way, our 3 sons are married out of 4 now, and we treat daughter-in-laws at par with our sons, and they have equal freedom to be part of the family business. One of them is doing her own business, one of them is part of the family business, and the third one is she's wanting to be part of the CSR team of the company. So it's fine. So give them that freedom to fly, to do what they want. Treat them equally. That's what I would say.
Thank you. That's very nice to hear. Anil, now a question for you, and this always comes up. I think one person says, listen, I'm willing to sit across the table, I want to talk, but the other party is like completely shut down and unwilling to communicate. How do you get through such a situation?
So, and when you say,
and I don't know if Samir and Sandeep, if you have faced that also.
No, so see, I would say, yes, it does happen that at times the person is unwilling to talk. But when somebody is unwilling to talk, the way I look at situation is that person is unwilling to talk at this moment, because nothing is permanent in this world. Okay. And I will go back to what I said in the presentation. If he's unwilling to talk, there is a barrier. There is a barrier. Something is stopping him, because the normal human nature is that, we all leave aside our family or friends. Even if a dog gets hurt, to a normal person, it hurts. So we are all interconnected. That's a fact of life. So if somebody is going against the nature of life, there is some barrier. And barriers also, again, Sukriti, as I had said a little while ago, most of the time, those are, this fear that things will go worse or I will be misunderstood. So if somebody can, do a role play and see what are his feelings, what are his needs, which he would have definitely expressed before his unwillingness to talk, his or her. If one gets into that, it would be easy. Now, does one have that, as Samirji was saying, that attitude? He said 90% is attitude. I was using the word being, being wise, having faith, being committed to the relationship. The words used, attitude and being, I think to a large extent, they can be, or there is a lot of similarity. So if you are in the right being, and then you communicate, it may happen that once it may not work, twice it may not work, but it is absolutely not possible that the other person will not respond. We may not come to a common agreement, but the communication will start.
Now, that's good to know, because I think sometimes when we feel stuck, we don't know what to do. Over to you, Janani.
Right. Now I'm seeing there are some audience comments pouring in. Raman Nanda says, amazing openness by both of the brothers, Samir and Sandeep. So much learning. Congratulations on running such a wonderful business. My question I want to ask related to the business now. Samirji, as a very active CII, how have you navigated relationships between government levels and industry levels? Now, what insights would you like to share to our audience today?
So I would say, the fundamental would remain the same, be it CII, be it family, be it a country, be it industry colleagues. The fundamental won't change. Be honest, be straightforward. And it is related to the last question, what Anilji was also trying to answer. I would say for building relationship, the best thing is to put yourself in other shoes. It could be your spouse, any other stakeholder, your employee, and think about it. Instead of reacting to the situation, think about it before responding. If you are able to do that, I think don't get into any kind of ego barriers which could create a difficult kind of a situation. Secondly, I would again repeat, at the cost of repetition, be objective driven, know your rights, but know your duties as well. If you follow these certain fundamentals, the other person will start appreciating you. You got to be very genuine. You can't be ingenuine when you're talking. If you are honest and straightforward, if you're able to put yourself in other shoes, if you're very objective driven in your life, if you know your rights and duties both, there is no reason why strong relationship with any stakeholder, be it CII or anything else, won't get made.
Right. So honesty, objective driven, and also compassionate communication, which Anilji also mentioned a little earlier today. We have another question for Anilji coming in. Raman Nanda wants to know, is there a simpler way to bring in family governance other than a constitution?
So I'll respond to that, but Janani, there is a hand raised also by Mr. Sehgal. I would request if you can look at that. So coming to Raman, we believe that every family already has a constitution. It could be simple, unwritten. So between any set of people, there is already a constitution. And constitution is not complex. I think Samirji also said constitution is simple. What are our goals? What are our beliefs? So, and you can write in 2 pages. So it need not be a complicated document. So whether you call it constitution or you don't write it, but if there are 2 people, like the day I got married, now my wife and me are interdependent, we impact each other, so we need to have communication and clarity. So constitution is kind of standardizing or documenting our key ways, our key beliefs, our key practices. और सबके पास already है. The question is, it is incomplete or we are not aligned on that. So that would be my simple take on the question. Yeah.
Right. Thank you, Anilji. I request Mr. Sehgal to type in the question on the question answer box so we may ask that. Over to you, Sukriti.
So MSA Kumar is also asking a very interesting question. I think because you've said 4 and 4, so this magic number of 4, you've got 4 people that are coming into the business and you've got 4 SBU structure. So he wants to understand, to keep the next generation together, what is your advice? Have a SBU structure for the 4 verticals or a functional structure like the one Samir and Sandeep had at the start?
So should I answer that, or Anilji or Sandeep, you want to take this?
You can go ahead, Samir.
Okay, so I'll share my, again, very practical experience. First of all, these 4 business verticals, what we have created is not because of 4 children. It's a coincidence. and hopefully within 6 months, it's going to be the 5th one as well. So, and we, by the way, we are also into hospitality, which is not energy business. So we generally, we don't talk about it often. So it's a coincidence. So wherever you have core competency, we tend to keep on growing. And, I think it's not about what how do we want to fit the kids into the business or the next generation into the business? That should not be the thought. What is their dream? That is what we need to decipher better, understand better, and allow them to fly. They, for all that I know, one of them would want to be a cricketer or a photographer or a football player, whatever. Just allow him to do that. Don't force him to get into business if he doesn't want to get there. By the way, we also had a discussion that what if none of them want to be in this business? They may just want to be in New Zealand, do something else in life. We don't know. So we thought we will run it professionally. They can be or may not be part of the board also. This is purely their choice. So since they're part of the family, they have certain privileges, rights, and duties. And if they choose to be part of the business and executive role, it could be functional. It could be a CEO role or a CEO role, whatever. They would be compensated accordingly, and performance got to be mapped to the peer group. It nothing to do with the Ford's children and for verticals.
No, I know. I just wanted to ask that question because it did come up. But, we've learned so much, and especially about this compassionate communication, the need for communication. I'd like to hear from all three of you, your closing thoughts as we end the session for today. And we'll start with you, Sandeep, and then to Samir, and then to Anil.
Sandeep, go ahead.
Yeah, no, not really. I think we had a very interesting session. Nothing more to add. I think whatever I had to say, I have said. Samir said that for us, as far as we are concerned, our next generation is free to pursue whatever they want to do. If they want to be part of family business, yes, we have created the structure where they can be part of family structure. If they want to pursue something else, that's also their, I think, free to do so. As the more important is to kind of give them full freedom to pursue their dream. That is very important. And that's pretty much it from my side, at least. Samir, anything from your side?
My closing comment would be, and as Sandeep you was speaking, I was thinking what should be my closing comment. I think one advice I would like to give to all is that have some, give some time for reflection to you, to yourself, maybe on daily basis, or take a week off, do whatever, and have clarity on your purpose of life. At least I'm happy to share, and this is what I've written it down, is after spending a lot of hours as to what excites me, what motivates me in life. At least I'm sharing my leadership purpose with all of you. It is to keep learning, invest in people, collaborate so as to build long enduring relationships on principles of trust and transparency. And it is important to me because I care for people and I aspire to take responsibility of creating an institution both for my family and my family business. So that is, verbatim of what my leadership purpose is. If you are having clarity on the purpose, all the actions that you take on day-to-day basis should be aligned to, achieving that purpose. So that would be my, single liner advice.
Thank you. Anil?
Before I add, I must thank Samirji for sharing and compliment him for, having that purpose. And I think he lives it. I have seen it demonstrating him. I have seen him demonstrating it multiple times. My closing comment would be कि इस दुनिया में ज्ञान की कमी नहीं है. More so in today's world. Whatever your questions are, there are, so many answers to it and so many people willing to help you. The key thing is in implementation, execution. And I think Samirji and Sandeepji are a wonderful example of how they have navigated. Our focus was on relationships, but they brought in a much wider perspective and tangible things, their challenges. So I would say learn from their experience, make use of this tool. The key is in implementation. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. I mean, I can definitely see the open and honesty because you've even brought that to this platform, how candidly you've spoken about the issues. So on behalf of BW Business World, Sipping Thoughts and BAF Consultants, we thank you. And we thank everyone for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.